Right now, wherever you are, there is something beneath you. Below the floor, below the foundations, below the soil and the rock, the earth goes down, down through layers older than any human memory, down into darkness that has never seen the sun. We spend our lives on the surface, a thin skin of light and air, and we almost never think about the vast, silent world that lies beneath our feet. But humanity has thought about it. For as long as we have existed, we have looked down as well as up. And here is the thing that should stop you. We did not only imagine what lies below, we went there, we carved into it, we built in it. Beneath the surface of the earth, in more places than you would ever guess, there are cities, real ones. Not caves, not natural hollows, but cities, deliberately cut into solid rock, descending level after level into the dark. In one place, an entire city plunges 18 stories down into the earth, with room for thousands of people, with wells and stables and kitchens and churches, with air shafts reaching up to the surface and great stone doors that could be rolled shut and sealed from the inside. A whole world built underground by human hands and then, for a time, forgotten. That is real. You can go there. You can walk down into the dark and stand in the rooms where people once lived, deep beneath the ground. And it is only one of many. Across the world, humanity dug downward, carved out chambers and tunnels and buried cities in China, in the Middle East, beneath the sacred sites of the ancient world, in places we are still discovering. But that is only half of the story, because alongside the real underground world, the one we can prove, there is another one, a dreamed one. For thousands of years, humanity has told stories of what lies deeper still, of hidden kingdoms beneath the mountains, of a paradise at the center of the earth, ruled by masters of ancient wisdom, lit by a hidden sun, of a whole civilization living below us, entered through secret doorways in the mountains of Tibet, in the peaks of the American West, beneath the ice of Antarctica, of a network of tunnels that some believe links the entire planet into one hidden subterranean world. And here is the strange and haunting thing. These two underworlds, the real and the dreamed, live side by side in the human imagination, and they always have. We really did build cities underground, and we never stopped dreaming of the ones we did not build. Why? Why does the world beneath our feet hold us so powerfully in fact and in fantasy alike? Tonight we are going down. We are going to descend into both of these underworlds, and we are going to be honest at every step about which is which. We are going to stand in the real buried cities, the ones carved into the rock, and marvel at what human hands actually accomplished in the dark. And then we are going to follow the legends deeper, into Agartha and the hollow earth and the hidden kingdoms, and we are going to weigh them for what they are. And beneath it all, one question will follow us down, level after level, into the dark. Why did humanity go underground? What were the people of the buried cities hiding from when they sealed those great stone doors from the inside? And what is it that we are still, in our oldest and strangest stories, afraid is waiting down there, or hoping is waiting down there, in the world beneath the world? The surface is only the beginning. Tonight, we descend. Welcome. There are two underworlds, and to understand the strange hold that the world beneath our feet has on the human imagination, you have to hold both of them in your mind at once and never confuse them, even though they are forever entangled. The first underworld is the one we dug. It is real, it is physical, it is made of stone and hollowed earth, carved by human hands with human tools, and much of it still exists and can be entered and measured and studied. This is the underworld of archaeology, of buried cities and ancient tunnels and subterranean chambers. And it is, in its own right, one of the most astonishing and underappreciated achievements of the human past. People really did carve cities into the rock and descend to live in them. That is not legend, that is history. And we will spend the first half of our journey down in it, in the genuine, provable, breathtaking world that humanity actually built below the surface. The second underworld is the one we dreamed. It is a world of legend, of myth, of spiritual tradition and esoteric speculation. It is the underworld of hidden kingdoms and subterranean masters, of a paradise at the earth's core, of secret races living below us in cities of light. This underworld cannot be entered or measured because, as far as all the evidence shows, it does not physically exist. It lives instead in stories, in sacred traditions, in the persistent human conviction that beneath the ordinary ground there lies something extraordinary, hidden, waiting. And we will spend the second half of our journey exploring it, honestly, as what it is, a creation of the human imagination, no less fascinating for being a dream rather than a place. Now, the crucial thing, the thing that makes this whole subject so rich, is the relationship between these two underworlds. They are not separate. They feed each other. The real buried cities, so strange and so impressive, lend a kind of plausibility to the dreamed ones. If humanity really did carve a city 18 stories into the earth, then surely, the mind whispers, there could be more down there, deeper, older, stranger. And the dreamed underworld, in turn, colors how we experience the real one, wrapping the genuine ancient tunnels in an atmosphere of mystery and secret purpose that the archaeology alone might not support. The two underworlds are woven together, and part of our task throughout this journey is to keep gently pulling them apart, to be clear at every moment about which one we are standing in, the world we can prove, or the world we can only imagine. Let us begin by asking a deeper question. Why? Why has humanity always looked down as well as up for the hidden and the sacred? We are surface creatures. We live in the light and the air, and yet, across virtually every culture, the world below has held a profound and consistent fascination. Why? Part of the answer is intuitive, and it runs very deep. The underground is the realm of darkness, of the unknown, of what is hidden from sight. To go beneath the surface is to enter a place fundamentally different from the world of daylight, a place of secrets, of concealment, of things buried and things forgotten. The underground is where we put our dead, laying them in the earth so that the world below became, in the human imagination, the realm of the dead, the destination of the departed, the land beneath the land where the ancestors dwell. Across countless cultures, the underworld is the abode of the dead, a whole realm beneath our feet. And that association alone gives the underground an immense weight in the human imagination, a gravity of the sacred and the fearful. But there is another part of the answer, and it is the one that will become the thread running through our entire descent. The underground is refuge. It is shelter. It is the place you go to hide, to survive, to escape what is coming. When danger comes from above, when enemies invade, when the sky itself seems to threaten, human beings have always had the same instinct. Go down, get below, take shelter in the earth. The ground protects, the ground conceals, the ground endures. And this practical, primal association of the underground with safety and survival is, as we will see, the real reason many of the buried cities were built. And it is also transformed and mythologized at the heart of the legends of hidden kingdoms below, refuges of wisdom that survived when the world above was destroyed. So the underground holds a double meaning that has always haunted us. It is the realm of death, and it is the place of refuge. It is where we go when we die, and it is where we go to survive. It is the end, and it is the escape from the end. And that doubleness, that tension between the tomb and the shelter, between death and survival, is woven through everything we are about to explore in the real underworld and the dreamed one alike. And this brings us to the question that will follow us down through every level of this journey, the thread that connects the provable cities to the impossible kingdoms. Why did humanity go underground? What drove people to descend, to carve, to seal themselves in the dark? For the real buried cities, there is a real historical answer, and it is one of the most poignant in all of archaeology, an answer about fear and invasion and the desperate human will to survive. And for the dreamed underworld, that same question becomes mythologized into something grander and stranger, the idea that beneath us lies not just a refuge from a particular enemy, but a refuge from the end of the world itself, a place where a lost civilization, or a hidden race, or the guardians of ancient wisdom went down into the earth to outlast a catastrophe that consumed the surface. In both cases, real and dreamed, the underground is where humanity flees from something. And the whole of this documentary is, in a sense, an attempt to answer that single question. What were they hiding from? Here is the road down. We will begin in the next chapter with the single most astonishing piece of the real underground world, a city carved 18 stories into the earth, a place so impressive and so genuine that it anchors this entire subject in solid ground. From there, we will widen out to discover that this city was not alone, but one of dozens, an entire hidden country of buried cities honeycombing a whole region. Then we will cross the world to another continent, to the mysterious flooded caverns of China, and to the broader human drive to build downward that appears across the ancient world. We will descend beneath the sacred sites of antiquity, to the real tunnels and chambers below them, and to the bolder theories that grow in that darkness, the point where the provable world begins to shade into the speculative one. And then we will cross the threshold, deliberately and honestly, into the dreamed underworld. We will enter the legend of Agartha, the hidden kingdom at the center of the world. We will explore the strange and enduring theory of the hollow earth and confront what physics and geology actually say. We will visit the fabled doorways to the world below, in the mountains of the American West, in the traditions of Tibet, beneath the ice of Antarctica. We will ask, at last and directly, what humanity was hiding from, in fact and in legend. And we will confront the grandest claim of all, the theory that all of it, the real tunnels and the dreamed ones, are somehow connected, a single hidden network beneath the whole world. Through all of it, we descend level by level, from the solid to the speculative, from the proven to the dreamed, always asking what lies beneath and why it calls to us so powerfully. So let us take the first step down. Let us go to a quiet town in a strange and beautiful landscape where one day a man knocked down a wall in his home and found behind it the entrance to a city that went down and down and down into the dark. Our descent begins with a story that sounds like a legend, but is entirely verifiably true. And that is precisely why we begin here, because everything that follows in this documentary must be measured against the fact that what you are about to hear actually happened, and the place it happened is still there, and you can walk down into it today. The setting is a region in the heart of Anatolia in what is now central Turkey, a landscape unlike almost anywhere else on earth. It is called Cappadocia, and it is a place of surreal, dreamlike geology, a land of soft volcanic rock that wind and water have sculpted into strange cones and pillars and towers, a landscape that looks almost like another planet. This soft stone is the key to our entire story because it is soft enough to be carved, and yet, once exposed to air, it hardens, making it a nearly perfect material for cutting out chambers that will not collapse. Nature, in Cappadocia, handed humanity a canvas of stone, and humanity carved into it on a scale almost impossible to believe. The story of the Great Discovery, as it is commonly told, is almost too fitting. In the middle of the 20th century, a resident of the town of Derinkuyu was renovating his home, and in the course of the work, he knocked down a wall, and behind that wall, where he expected solid rock or perhaps a small hidden space, he found instead a passage, a dark opening leading down into the earth. And when that passage was explored, it led to another chamber and another passage and another, opening up level after level, descending into the ground. The man had broken through into the entrance of an entire underground city, one that had been sealed and forgotten, hidden behind the walls of an ordinary home in an ordinary town. Beneath the houses where people had lived their whole lives, there had been, all along, a vast city in the dark. What they found, as the underground city of Derinkuyu was gradually explored and excavated, defies easy belief. This was not a cave, it was not a natural formation, nor a simple cellar or hiding hole. It was a city, deliberately and brilliantly engineered, descending level after level into the earth. In its full extent, Derinkuyu reaches down something like 18 levels, 18 stories, not up into the sky but down into the ground, plunging to a depth of roughly 60 meters, the height of a substantial building but inverted, driven entirely into the earth. Let that image settle. A skyscraper, but pointing down. A city of 18 floors carved into solid rock, buried beneath the surface of the world. And it was not merely deep, it was complete. It was a place designed not just to hide in briefly, but to be lived in by a large population for extended periods. Consider what the builders included, because the completeness is what transforms Derinkuyu from a curiosity into a wonder. There were living quarters, rooms where families could dwell. There were kitchens with hearths for cooking, and the soot of ancient fires still marks the ceilings. There were storage rooms for food, essential for surviving underground for weeks or months. There were stables cut into the upper levels, where the people brought their animals down with them, keeping their livestock alive and close. There were wells, providing access to water deep underground, so that the inhabitants would not have to risk going to the surface for it, and so that an enemy above could not easily poison their supply. There were wine and oil presses. There were communal rooms, gathering spaces, and remarkably, there were religious spaces, including a large chamber understood to have served as a church, deep underground, a place of worship carved into the rock far below the light of day. Everything a community needed to survive, cut into the earth, arranged across 18 descending levels. And then there is the single most brilliant and most telling feature of the whole design, the feature that reveals more than any other what this place was truly for. The doors. Throughout Derinkuyu, at key points in the passages between levels, the builders placed great circular stone doors, massive discs of stone, like enormous millstones, each weighing hundreds of kilograms, up to half a ton or more. These stone wheels were set into carved channels so that they could be rolled across a passage to seal it completely, blocking the way with a plug of solid stone that no attacker could easily move. And here is the crucial detail, the detail that tells you everything. These great stone doors were designed to be rolled shut and operated from the inside. They could be closed and secured by the people sheltering within, sealing themselves in, while anyone on the outside, in the passage beyond, could not open them, could not move the massive stone, could not get in. There was even in the center of some of these doors a small hole, which may have allowed the defenders to see through or to strike out at anyone trying to breach the seal. Think about what that design tells us. A door that seals from the inside, that keeps others out while the inhabitants shelter within, is not the door of a home or a storehouse. It is the door of a refuge under siege. It is the design of people who expected at some point to descend into the earth, roll the great stones shut behind them, seal themselves into the dark, and wait while something dangerous passed by on the surface above. Derinkuyu was built by people preparing to hide from an enemy and to be able to hold out, sealed underground for a long time. The whole architecture of the place, the depth, the completeness, the wells, the food storage, the stables, the sealed doors, points to a single purpose: survival, refuge, escape from a threat above. And the scale of that refuge is staggering. Estimates of how many people Derinkuyu could shelter vary, but the numbers are consistently in the thousands. Some estimates run to many thousands, a substantial population, an entire town's worth of people able to descend into the earth and live there, sealed away, sustained by the wells and the stored food and the stabled animals for extended periods. This was not a hiding place for a handful of refugees. It was a subterranean city capable of preserving a whole community through whatever storm passed above. Now, we should be honest and careful about the history, because the honesty is part of what makes this real rather than legendary. The origins of Derinkuyu are genuinely ancient and not fully certain. The soft rock of Cappadocia had been carved by its inhabitants for a very long time, and the underground city appears to have been developed and expanded over many centuries by successive peoples, deepened and enlarged generation after generation. Its earliest origins may reach back into deep antiquity, and it was used, expanded, and relied upon across a long span of history, including in later centuries when the region's inhabitants used these underground cities as refuges during times of invasion and persecution, sealing themselves below while armies and raiders swept through the land above. The city was not built in a single moment by a single people, but grew over ages, a collective work of survival passed down and expanded across generations of people who all shared the same need to be able to disappear into the earth. And it is precisely that need, recurring across so many centuries, that raises the question that will follow us through this entire journey. What were they hiding from? What threat or series of threats was so severe, so recurring, that an entire population would undertake the immense labor of carving a city 18 stories into solid rock, complete with sealed doors and hidden wells, purely so that they could vanish underground when danger came? We will return to that question in full later in our descent, when we ask directly what drove humanity below the surface. For now, hold it in your mind, because Derinkuyu poses it more powerfully than almost anything else. Here is proof, solid and undeniable, that human beings really did build entire cities underground, and that they did so, at least in large part, out of fear to survive something above. And here is why Derinkuyu is the perfect foundation for our entire journey. It establishes, beyond any possible doubt, that the underground world is not merely a fantasy. It is real. Humanity really did descend into the earth and build there, on a scale and with a sophistication that staggers the imagination. When we later encounter the wilder legends of hidden kingdoms and subterranean paradises, we will need to be skeptical, and we will be. But we will never be able to say that the very idea of a city beneath the earth is absurd, because Derinkuyu proves it is not. The dream of the underground world has at its root a real seed. People genuinely built cities in the dark. That is the solid ground on which everything else in this subject stands, and it is why we began here, 18 stories down, in a city carved from fear and stone. But here is what deepens the mystery and carries us onward. Derinkuyu, astonishing as it is not unique. It is not even rare. Because when archaeologists and explorers began to understand what lay beneath Cappadocia, they realized that Derinkuyu was only one city among many. The ground beneath that strange and beautiful landscape is not honeycombed in one place, but in dozens. An entire hidden country lies beneath the surface of Cappadocia, city after buried city. And some of them, it is said, are linked together by tunnels running through the dark. If one underground city is a wonder, what are we to make of a whole subterranean nation? Let us go deeper. Derinkuyu, for all its wonder, poses a problem the moment you truly grasp it. Because a city 18 stories deep, capable of sheltering thousands, is not the kind of thing that appears in isolation. It is not a freak, a one-off, a single inexplicable marvel. It is the product of a whole culture of underground building, a society that knew how to do this, that did it repeatedly, that treated the carving of cities into the earth as something close to normal. And when you look at the region around Derinkuyu with that understanding, you discover something that transforms the entire mystery. Derinkuyu is not alone. It is one city in a hidden country. Beneath the landscape of Cappadocia, the ground is riddled, honeycombed, perforated with underground settlements. Not one, not a handful, but dozens of underground cities and countless smaller underground dwellings and refugees scattered across the region, carved into the same soft, workable rock. Some are small, simple shelters. Others are vast, rivaling Derinkuyu itself in scale and depth and sophistication. Estimates of the total number of underground settlements in the wider region run into the dozens of substantial cities and, counting the smaller sites, potentially hundreds of underground spaces of varying size. The entire region beneath its surface is a landscape of buried worlds, an entire subterranean country existing in parallel with the world above, level after level, city after city, hidden in the dark. Consider what this means. It is one thing to marvel at a single underground city, to treat it as an extraordinary exception, a singular achievement. It is another thing entirely to realize that beneath a whole region, underground cities were a widespread, repeated, almost characteristic feature of life. This was not one desperate community's unique solution. It was a way of life, a shared and enduring practice in which people across an entire region knew how to descend into the earth and build there, and did so again and again over a very long span of time. The scale transforms the meaning. We are not looking at an anomaly. We are looking at a civilization or a series of civilizations for whom the underground was a normal and essential part of their world. And among these many buried cities, there are others nearly as astonishing as Derinkuyu. There is another great underground city not far away, which is believed to be connected to Derinkuyu, and which shares the same essential features, the multiple descending levels, the ventilation systems, the wells, the living quarters, the great rolling stone doors that seal from within. Between them and the others, the region holds a whole network of these subterranean refugees, each one a testament to the same knowledge, the same need, the same descent into the earth. Which brings us to one of the most tantalizing claims in the whole subject, and one we must handle with care, distinguishing what is established from what is speculative. The claim is that these underground cities were not isolated from one another, but connected, that tunnels, long passages running through the rock, linked one underground city to another beneath the surface, so that a person could travel from one buried city to the next without ever emerging into the daylight, moving through the earth from refuge to refuge along hidden underground roads. There is a specific and famous version of this claim concerning Derinkuyu and the other great nearby underground city, which are said to be linked by a tunnel running for kilometers through the rock, a subterranean passage connecting the two buried cities directly. And more broadly, the idea has grown that the underground cities of Cappadocia form a connected system, an interlinked subterranean network, tunnels threading between the buried cities, turning the whole region below into one vast connected underworld. Now let us be honest and precise here, because this is exactly the kind of place where the real and the exaggerated begin to blur, and our whole approach depends on keeping them clear. What is genuinely established is remarkable enough on its own. The underground cities are real, they are numerous, they are sophisticated. Within individual cities, the levels are connected by an intricate system of internal passages, stairways, and tunnels, a genuine three-dimensional maze of connection. And there is real evidence and strong tradition of tunnels connecting at least some of the underground cities to one another, of passages running between neighboring buried settlements. That much stands on solid ground, and it is astonishing enough. Where we must be more cautious is with the grander versions of the claim, the idea of a vast, deliberate, region-spanning network linking many cities across great distances into a single planned underground system. The most expansive versions of this idea run ahead of what has been firmly established. Some connecting tunnels are real. The notion of a fully interconnected regional web linking everything is more speculative, and we should hold it as an intriguing possibility rather than a proven fact. This is the honest line, and drawing it clearly matters, because as we descend further in this documentary, the idea of connecting tunnels will grow and grow until it reaches, at the very end, the grandest claim of all, a network beneath the entire world. And when we get there, we will need to remember exactly where the solid evidence ended and the speculation began. And that boundary starts here in Cappadocia, where real connecting tunnels between some cities shade into the dream of a total underground network. But set aside for now the question of how fully connected they were, and return to the sheer established fact of their existence, because it deepens our central mystery enormously. We now know that beneath a whole region, generation after generation, people carved cities into the earth, dozens of them, capable together of sheltering a vast population. And the great rolling stone doors, sealing from the inside, tell us the same thing at this larger scale that they told us at Derinkuyu. These cities were built over and over across the region as refuges, as places to hide, as shelters into which whole populations could vanish when danger came, sealing themselves below while the threat passed above. And this raises the question of vanishing, which is one of the eeriest aspects of the whole subject. Think about what these underground cities made possible. When an enemy approached, an invading army, a raiding force, a persecutor, the people of the surface towns could descend into the earth, bringing their families, their animals, their food, and their water sources, roll the great stone doors shut behind them and simply disappear. An invader arriving at the surface would find the towns empty, abandoned, the population gone, vanished as if into thin air. But they had not vanished into the air. They had vanished into the ground, into the sealed cities below, waiting in the dark, sustained by their wells and their stores, while the enemy searched the empty surface in vain and eventually moved on. A whole population able to erase itself from the visible world to become, for a time, a people who lived beneath the earth. There is something profound and haunting in that image, and it connects directly to the legends we will explore later. Because the idea of a whole population descending into the earth and vanishing from the surface, surviving below while danger reigns above, is exactly the shape of the great subterranean legends, the hidden kingdoms, the races that went underground to escape catastrophe. The difference, and it is the essential difference we must never lose, is that in Cappadocia, this really happened. People really did descend and vanish and survive below. The legend of the people who went underground has, in Cappadocia, a completely real and documented foundation. And it is easy to see how the real experience of populations vanishing into the earth and surviving there could feed and inspire the grander legend of a whole civilization that went below and never came back up, still living somewhere in the dark. So Cappadocia gives us, in solid stone, the reality that underlies the entire dream of the underground world. Whole populations really did build cities in the earth. They really did descend into them and seal themselves in. They really could vanish from the surface and survive below. This is the foundation, real and proven, and it is magnificent. And it establishes the pattern, the descent into the earth as refuge that we will now follow across the world and eventually into legend. Because Cappadocia is not the only place on earth where humanity carved wonders into the dark. If the underground cities of Anatolia stand as the greatest proof of the human drive to build downward, they are not the only proof. Across the world, on other continents, in other ages, human beings descended into the earth and left behind works that still baffle us. And one of the strangest of all lies on the far side of Asia, in China, in a series of flooded caverns carved with a precision that seems almost impossible, by builders who left no record of who they were, or how they did it, or why. Let us cross the world and go down again. If Cappadocia proves that humanity built cities underground, we might still tell ourselves that this was a local phenomenon, a peculiarity of one region, with unusually soft and workable stone. So let us cross the entire width of Asia to the other side of the continent, to China, and discover that the human drive to descend into the earth and carve wonders there is not local at all. It is global, and in China, it produced one of the most genuinely baffling underground works anywhere on earth. The Longyou Caves. The story of their discovery, like so much in this subject, has an almost accidental quality. For a very long time, in a particular area of eastern China, there were ponds. Local villages had ponds of dark, still water, which had always been there, assumed to be bottomless, part of the ordinary landscape. And then, within recent decades, some villagers decided to pump the water out of one of these ponds, expecting perhaps to find fish, or simply the muddy bottom of a natural pool. Instead, as the water level dropped, something extraordinary began to emerge from beneath the surface. The pond was not a pond at all. It was the flooded mouth of an enormous artificial cavern, a vast chamber carved into the rock that had been hidden beneath the dark water for who knows how long. And it was not alone. As more of the ponds were pumped out, more caverns were revealed, a whole series of them, dozens of enormous artificial grottos, hidden all along beneath the still water of the village ponds. What emerged, as the Longyou caverns were drained and explored, is genuinely astonishing and genuinely mysterious. These are not small spaces. They are enormous cathedral-like chambers, cut down into the solid rock, some of them soaring to great heights, with floor areas large enough to swallow whole buildings. They are supported by great pillars of rock, left in place by the carvers to hold up the ceilings, arranged with evident care. And the walls, the ceilings, the pillars are covered across their entire surfaces with an extraordinary and consistent pattern of parallel lines, fine chisel marks, forming a regular, deliberate, decorative texture across the whole of these immense spaces, a pattern so uniform and so vast that it represents a staggering amount of careful, controlled labor. And here's what makes Longyou so genuinely baffling, so different even from the wonders of Cappadocia. We know, at least in broad terms, who built the Cappadocian cities and why. But the Longyou caverns are, in a real sense, a mystery. There are no historical records of their construction. No ancient text describes them. No tradition clearly remembers who carved them, or when, or how, or for what purpose. An immense undertaking, the removal of an almost unimaginable volume of stone, the creation of dozens of vast, precisely finished chambers, an effort that would have required enormous organization, labor, and skill, and yet it left, apparently, no trace in the historical record. The people who did this simply are not remembered. Their work survived hidden beneath the water, but their identity, their methods, their reasons vanished completely. A wonder without a history. This absence of explanation is what has made Longyou a magnet for wonder and speculation, and legitimately so because the questions are real. How were these caverns carved with such precision and such consistency across such vast surfaces, apparently without the aid of the mechanisms we would use today? Why is there no record of an undertaking so massive? What were they for? Various explanations have been offered that they were quarries from which stone was extracted, or that they served some purpose of storage, or shelter, or ritual. But none of these fully accounts for the care, the finish, the decorative surfaces, the sheer scale and sophistication of spaces that seem too finished, too deliberate, too beautiful to be mere quarries. The honest position is that Longyou remains to a real degree unexplained, a genuine mystery of the underground world, a place we can enter and measure and marvel at, but cannot fully account for. And we should be careful here in our characteristic way to separate the genuine mystery from the exaggerations that inevitably grow around it. The genuine mystery is real. These caverns are authentically impressive, authentically precise, and authentically unexplained in important respects. But that genuine mystery does not require and is not evidence for the wilder claims that sometimes attach to such places of lost super-civilizations or non-human builders. The most likely truth is that Longyou is the work of human beings, of a society with real organization and real skill, whose identity and records were simply lost to time, as so much of the human past has been lost. The mystery is not that Longyou is beyond human capability. It is that we have forgotten the humans who accomplished it. And that, in its own way, is haunting enough, that people could undertake something this vast, this careful, this enduring, and be so completely forgotten that their greatest work sat hidden beneath village ponds, its makers utterly unknown. But Longyou, like Derinkuyu, is not an isolated wonder. It is one instance of a truth that runs across the entire ancient world. Humanity, everywhere, built downward. The impulse to descend into the earth and carve, to create spaces and works beneath the surface, appears again and again across cultures and continents, informs both practical and sacred. And when you begin to look, you realize how much of the human past is, quite literally, underground. Consider the range of it. Across the ancient world, peoples carved elaborate tombs deep into the rock, whole underground complexes for the dead, descending into the earth in the belief that the underworld was the proper realm of the departed. There are vast underground burial networks beneath ancient cities, catacombs, mile after mile of tunnels and chambers cut into the rock to hold the dead, entire cities of the dead existing beneath the cities of the living. There are underground temples and sanctuaries, sacred spaces deliberately cut below the surface, where ritual and worship took place in the darkness of the earth, in the belief that the divine, or the sacred, or the mysteries were to be encountered below. There are rock-cut structures of astonishing scale and beauty, whole buildings, whole complexes, carved downward into solid stone rather than built upward from it, inverting the very idea of architecture. There are ancient tunnels and underground water systems, engineered passages cut through the rock to carry water, to mine, to connect. And there are underground refuges of many kinds, across many regions, echoing the purpose of Cappadocia, places where people descended to hide and survive. Taken together, these underground works reveal something profound about our species. We are not only surface builders. The human drive to descend, to carve, to build and bury and dwell within the earth is deep and ancient and worldwide. We buried our dead in the earth and made cities for them there. We sought the sacred in the darkness below and built temples to find it. We fled into the earth to survive and carved refuges to shelter us. We tunneled and mined and channeled water through the rock. The underground is not a marginal footnote to human history. It is a vast and largely hidden dimension of it, a whole realm of human achievement and human meaning that lies quite literally beneath our feet, beneath the surface we walk on, and the history we usually tell. And this is the crucial foundation that the real underground world provides for everything that follows, because we have now established with solid evidence from multiple continents that humanity genuinely, extensively, and impressively built beneath the earth, cities 18 stories deep, whole regions honeycombed with buried settlements, vast, precise, mysterious caverns hidden beneath the water, cities of the dead, underground temples, rock-cut wonders, refuges in the rock, all around the world. The world beneath our feet is genuinely full of human work, much of it astonishing, some of it still unexplained, far more of it than most people ever realize. And it is exactly this real, proven, worldwide underground world that gives the dreamed underground world its power. Because once you truly grasp how much humanity really did build below the surface, once you have stood in your imagination 18 stories down in Derinkuyu or in the drained caverns of Longyou, a question begins to whisper. If we built all this and forgot so much of it, if whole cities and vast caverns could lie hidden and forgotten beneath ponds and behind walls, then what else might be down there? What else lies beneath us, unexplored, unrecorded, waiting? The real underground world proves that the earth beneath us can hold enormous secrets. And that proof is the doorway through which the legends enter. We are about to approach that doorway. But first, we have one more region of the real underground world to explore, and it is the one where the solid ground of archaeology begins, at last, to shade into the speculation of legend. Beneath some of the most sacred and most famous sites of the ancient world, there are real tunnels, real chambers, real passages cut into the earth. And around those genuine subterranean features, some of the boldest theories in this entire subject have grown. Let us go beneath the most famous monuments on Earth and stand at the threshold where the proven underground world meets the dreamed one. We come now to a threshold in more than one sense. We have spent our descent so far in the solid, provable underground world, the real cities and caverns that humanity carved into the earth, and we are about to cross, in the second half of this journey, into the dreamed underground world, the realm of legend and speculation. This chapter is the threshold between them, the place where the two worlds meet and blur. Because there are locations on Earth where genuine, documented, real underground features, actual tunnels and chambers cut into the rock, lie directly beneath the most sacred and famous monuments of the ancient world. And around those real subterranean features, some of the boldest and most speculative theories in this entire subject have grown. Here, more than anywhere, we must keep our footing and be clear at every step about where the solid rock of evidence ends and the open air of speculation begins. There is no better place to stand at this threshold than beneath the most famous monuments on the planet. The Giza Plateau in Egypt, home to the Great Pyramids and the Sphinx, the most studied, most visited, most iconic ancient site on Earth. And beneath it, there is genuinely an underground dimension, real subterranean features that are documented and established, and around which an enormous body of speculation has accumulated. Let us begin with what is real, because the reality is the anchor. The Giza Plateau and the monuments upon it do have genuine subterranean elements. This is not in dispute. The Great Pyramids themselves contain in some cases chambers and passages that descend below ground level, cut down into the bedrock beneath the monuments. There are descending passages, cut into the rock, leading to subterranean chambers beneath the pyramids, real underground spaces that are part of the monument's actual architecture. Beyond the pyramids themselves, the plateau contains various rock-cut features, tombs, shafts, and passages cut into the bedrock, a genuine underground dimension to the sacred landscape. There are deep shafts and cut features in the area, some explored, some the subject of ongoing archaeological investigation. The underground reality of Giza is genuine, and it is part of what makes the site so endlessly fascinating that beneath the visible monuments there is a real, if partly explored, world of cut rock and hidden space. And there is genuine, legitimate, ongoing exploration of the subsurface of such sites using real methods, the careful excavation of known passages, and increasingly remote sensing technologies that can probe beneath the surface without digging, looking for hidden chambers, cavities, and passages in the rock. This is real science, and it does from time to time reveal genuine new features, previously unknown spaces within or beneath ancient monuments. The idea that there may be undiscovered chambers or passages associated with such heavily built and heavily used sacred sites is not in itself unreasonable, and legitimate researchers do investigate exactly this. So that is the solid ground, real subterranean features beneath a real sacred site, and genuine ongoing exploration of them. Now watch what grows in that ground, because this is the threshold, the point where the real begins to shade into the speculative, and it happens in stages, each one a step further from the evidence. The first step is reasonable and grounded. Given the real underground features and the real possibility of undiscovered ones, It is legitimate to wonder what more might lie beneath such an intensively sacred and constructed landscape. That is honest curiosity, tethered to real evidence. The second step goes further, into the specific legends that have long attached to Giza and similar sites. There are old and persistent traditions and speculations of hidden chambers beneath the plateau containing lost knowledge, of secret rooms holding the records of a vanished age, of a great concealed chamber, sometimes called by evocative names, said to lie hidden beneath the sands or the monuments, containing the archived wisdom of a lost civilization. These are legends, traditions of a hidden repository of ancient knowledge beneath the sacred site. They are not established fact, and no such chamber of lost records has been found, but they are a real and old part of the lore surrounding the place, and they represent the imagination reaching from the real underground features towards something grander hidden below. The third step goes further still into the boldest speculation of vast tunnel systems beneath the plateau, of extensive hidden networks connecting the monuments, of great concealed spaces far beyond anything documented, of a whole secret subterranean complex beneath the sacred site, deliberately hidden, containing who knows what. And beyond even that, the speculation connects to the grandest themes of this whole subject. The idea that beneath Giza and beneath other sacred sites around the world lie the entrances to something larger, tunnels leading not just to hidden chambers but onward into the deeper underground world of legend, the sacred site as a doorway to the world below. Do you see the staircase we have just descended? From real, documented underground chambers to reasonable curiosity about undiscovered ones, to old legends of hidden halls of records, to bold speculation about vast secret networks, to the grandest claim of sacred sites as gateways to a legendary underworld. Each step takes us further from the solid rock of evidence and deeper into the open air of speculation. And the crucial discipline, the thing that separates honest exploration from credulous fantasy, is to know which step you are standing on. The real chambers are real, the ongoing exploration is real, the halls of hidden records are legend, the vast secret networks and the gateways to the underworld are speculation built upon speculation. All of it is fascinating. But it is not all the same kind of thing, and pretending it is, collapsing the real chambers and the legendary gateways into a single undifferentiated mystery, is exactly the error we have promised to avoid. And this pattern, real underground features beneath a sacred site, overgrown with legends of hidden knowledge and secret worlds below, is not unique to Giza. It recurs at sacred sites around the world. Again and again, the great sacred places of humanity are associated with an underground dimension, sometimes real, sometimes legendary, usually both entangled together. There are ancient temples and sacred sites across many cultures with genuine underground chambers, crypts and passages, real subterranean sacred spaces. And around a great many of them cluster the same kinds of legends of deeper hidden chambers, of secret passages, of tunnels leading down and away, of concealed knowledge and hidden worlds beneath the holy place. The sacred site with a secret underground is a nearly universal pattern, combining almost always a kernel of real subterranean architecture with a rich growth of legend about what lies deeper. Why should this pattern be so universal? Part of the answer we have already seen, that humanity genuinely did build sacred spaces underground, so real subterranean features beneath sacred sites are common. And part of the answer reaches toward the themes we are about to explore in the dreamed underworld. The idea that beneath the sacred lies something deeper, hidden, and powerful, that the holy place on the surface is only the visible portal to a greater mystery below, is a profound and recurring human intuition, one that connects the real underground of archaeology to the dreamed underground of legend. The sacred site becomes, in the imagination, a doorway, a point where the surface world touches the hidden world beneath, where you might, if you found the right passage, descend from the known into the unknown, from the world above into the world below. And with that image, the doorway beneath the sacred site, we have arrived at the threshold itself, and it is time to cross it. We have explored the real underground world as fully as honesty allows, from the proven cities of Cappadocia to the mysterious caverns of Longyou, to the genuine chambers beneath the sacred stones of Giza, and we have watched in this chapter the real begin to shade into the legendary. Now we step across, deliberately and with our eyes open, into the dreamed underground world, the world of hidden kingdoms and subterranean masters, of a paradise at the center of the earth, of doorways in the mountains and beneath the ice. We leave the solid rock of what humanity built and enter the vast, strange, luminous cavern of what humanity imagined. And we begin with the greatest of all the underground legends, the dream of a hidden kingdom deep beneath the world, a realm of wisdom and light, ruled by ancient masters, waiting, some believe, to this very day. We begin with Agartha. We have crossed the threshold. Behind us lies the real underground world, the proven cities and caverns and chambers that humanity actually carved into the earth. Ahead of us lies the dreamed underground world, and we enter it now deliberately, with our eyes open, knowing exactly what kind of territory we are entering. This is the realm of legend, and we must be clear about that from the first step, not to diminish it, but to understand it truly. What follows is not archaeology. It is not established fact. It is something else, something that has haunted the human imagination for a very long time, a dream of what lies deepest of all beneath our feet. And the greatest of these dreams is the legend of a hidden kingdom at the center of the world, the legend of Agartha. Agartha in the tradition is a hidden realm deep within the earth, not a buried city like Derinkuyu, not a refuge carved into the rock, but something far grander and stranger, an entire kingdom, a whole subterranean world existing in the depths beneath the surface, hidden from the world above and inhabited. According to the legend, Agartha is a realm of great beauty and great wisdom, a subterranean paradise, lit not by our sun, but by its own inner light, a source of illumination within the earth itself. It is said to be ruled by masters, by beings of advanced spiritual wisdom and knowledge, sages and adepts who dwell in the hidden kingdom below, guardians of ancient truths, presiding over a civilization of peace and enlightenment far beneath the troubled surface of the world. The legend is often bound up with a related name, one that may be more familiar, Shambhala, a hidden kingdom of wisdom and enlightenment drawn from the sacred traditions of Asia, a legendary realm of spiritual masters and perfected beings. In the original sacred traditions, such a hidden kingdom carries deep spiritual meaning, a symbol or a location, depending on the interpretation, of enlightenment, of a pure realm, of a source of sacred wisdom in the world. And in the modern esoteric imagination, these ideas of hidden kingdoms of the wise became woven together with the idea of the subterranean world, so that the hidden kingdom came to be located specifically beneath the earth, deep below the surface, in the realm of Agartha, the underground abode of the masters. Let us paint the full picture of the legend because it is genuinely beautiful and genuinely powerful, and it deserves to be felt in its full imaginative force before we examine it. Imagine, the legend invites us that far beneath the surface of the world, beneath the cities and the mountains and the seas, there lies a hidden realm, a vast inner world illuminated by its own soft light. A kingdom of surpassing beauty and harmony, untouched by the wars and the chaos and the suffering of the surface, and dwelling there a race or a brotherhood of masters, beings of great age and great wisdom, who have preserved, through all the ages of upheaval on the surface, the deepest and most sacred knowledge of humanity and the cosmos. They are the guardians of wisdom, the keepers of the ancient truths, watching over the world from below, occasionally perhaps sending emissaries to the surface, or guiding the destiny of the world above through hidden means, but themselves remaining concealed in their luminous kingdom at the center of the world. That is Agartha, a hidden paradise of wisdom beneath our feet, ruled by ascended masters, a refuge of light and truth in the depths of the earth. Now, where does this legend come from? And how did it take the specific form of a physical kingdom beneath the ground? This is important because understanding the origins of the legend helps us see it clearly for what it is. The idea of Agartha as a subterranean kingdom, in the form we have just described, is largely a product of the modern esoteric and occult tradition, developed and popularized over the past couple of centuries by writers and mystics who wove together several older strands. They drew on the genuine Asian sacred traditions of hidden kingdoms of wisdom, giving those traditions a specific subterranean location. They drew on older and widespread myths of underworlds and hidden realms beneath the earth. They drew on the emerging idea, which we will explore in the next chapter, of a hollow earth with a habitable interior. And they combined all of this into the modern legend of Agartha, a physical kingdom in the depths, inhabited by masters. A synthesis of spiritual longing, ancient myth, and speculative geography. And this is the crucial point of honesty, the one we must state plainly. Agartha, as a literal physical kingdom beneath the surface of the earth, is a legend. It is not a discovered place. There is no evidence, none, for an inhabited kingdom deep within the earth, lit by an inner sun, ruled by immortal masters. Everything we know about the interior of the earth, which we will discuss in detail shortly, makes such a place impossible in physical reality. Agartha is not archaeology. It is not geography. It is a spiritual and imaginative creation, a dream given the form of a place. And we say this not to mock it, but because our whole approach depends on telling the truth about what kind of thing each part of this subject is. Derinkuyu is a real city you can walk into. Agartha is a legend you can only imagine. Both are fascinating. They are not the same kind of thing, and we will not pretend they are. But here is what makes Agartha genuinely worth exploring, even as a legend, and it is the thing that connects it back to everything we have seen. Ask yourself why this particular dream took hold so powerfully. Why would humanity imagine a paradise of wisdom beneath the ground rather than, say, only in the heavens? And the answer reaches right back to the deep meanings of the underground that we explored at the beginning of our journey, and to the real underground world we have just traveled through. Consider. We saw that the underground is, in the human imagination, both the realm of death and the place of refuge. Agartha takes the refuge meaning and elevates it to its highest form. It is the ultimate refuge, a realm that survived below when the surface was lost, a place where wisdom and beauty and enlightenment endured, safe beneath the earth, while the world above suffered its catastrophes and its falls. The legend of Agartha is, in essence, the dream that something precious was saved by going underground, that the best of what humanity was or could be, its wisdom, its harmony, its spiritual attainment, descended into the earth and survived there, preserved in the depths, while the surface world declined. And notice how this echoes, transformed and mythologized, exactly what really happened at Cappadocia, where real populations really did descend into the earth to survive catastrophe above. Agartha is the mythic, spiritualized, grandiose version of the very real human experience of going underground to survive. The real buried cities preserved communities through invasions. The legendary Agartha preserves wisdom itself through the fall of the world. The same shape, the same descent into the earth for refuge at the level of literal history and at the level of spiritual myth. And this connects to another deep theme we have been tracing, the idea found across so many traditions of a lost golden age, a vanished civilization of greater wisdom, a paradise that was lost. Agartha is, in a sense, that lost golden age, relocated. It is the idea that the lost paradise was not destroyed after all, but survives, hidden beneath our feet, and that its wisdom is not gone forever, but merely concealed, waiting, perhaps, to return or to be found. Agartha answers a profound human longing, the longing that what was best and wisest and most beautiful was not truly lost, that it endures somewhere, that it could be recovered. And it places that surviving paradise in the one location that could plausibly hide it, the vast, dark, unexplored world beneath the ground, the one place large enough and hidden enough to conceal an entire surviving kingdom. So Agartha, examined honestly, is not a place, but it is a profound and revealing dream, one that gathers up the deepest meanings of the underground, refuge, survival, the preservation of what was lost, the hidden paradise, the guardians of wisdom, and gives them a location beneath our feet. It is the human imagination doing what it has always done with the world below, filling the darkness with meaning, populating the depths with hope and wisdom and mystery. And it endures, this legend, precisely because it speaks to something real in us, the hope that beneath the troubled surface of the world, something better survives, hidden but not gone. The legend of Agartha, however, rests upon a larger idea, a foundation that makes a whole inhabited kingdom beneath the surface even conceivable. It rests on the idea that the earth is not solid at all, but hollow, with a vast habitable interior and perhaps an inner sun. This is one of the strangest ideas in the history of human thought, and it has a genuine and fascinating history, from serious speculation to enduring myth. And it is the idea where the collision between legend and physical reality becomes sharpest and clearest. Let us descend into the theory of the hollow earth. The legend of Agartha requires something to contain it. A hidden kingdom deep within the earth, with room for a whole civilization lit by an inner light, needs, quite literally, space to exist. And that space is provided by one of the strangest, boldest, and most enduring ideas in the entire history of human thought. The idea that the earth is not a solid ball of rock at all, but hollow. That beneath the crust on which we live, the planet is empty, or nearly so, containing a vast interior world, perhaps with its own geography, its own atmosphere, even its own sun. The hollow earth. This idea deserves our full and serious attention, and it deserves, above all, our honesty, because it is the place in this entire subject where the collision between imaginative legend and established physical reality is sharpest and most instructive. So let us do two things, in order. First, let us trace the genuine and fascinating history of the hollow earth idea and feel its imaginative power. And then let us confront, clearly and without evasion, what physics and geology actually tell us about the interior of the Earth. Because this is the chapter where our commitment to honesty matters most, and where the difference between a dream and a fact must be stated plainly. First, the history, which is genuinely interesting and often surprising. The idea that the Earth might be hollow is very old, but it took a particularly striking form in the history of Western thought when it was proposed at one point not as mere fantasy, but as a serious scientific speculation. In earlier centuries, before we understood the interior of the Earth as we do now, the notion that the planet might contain hollow spaces or even be substantially hollow was entertained by some as a genuine hypothesis, an attempt to explain various observations about the Earth. There was even a notable proposal that the Earth consisted of a series of concentric shells, spheres within spheres, with spaces between them, and that these interior regions might be habitable and might be reached through openings at the poles. This was put forward in its time as a real theory, and it attracted genuine interest and even advocacy for expeditions to find the polar openings and enter the world within. This is worth pausing on because it reminds us that ideas we now regard as fantastical were, in earlier stages of knowledge, sometimes reasonable hypotheses, given what was and was not yet understood. Before the science of the Earth's interior was developed, before we had the tools and the evidence we now possess, the interior of the planet was genuinely unknown, a realm of legitimate speculation. And into that unknown, the idea of a hollow Earth with interior worlds and polar entrances could enter as a real conjecture, not obviously more absurd than many other ideas of the time. From this history, the hollow earth idea flowered into a rich imaginative tradition. It featured prominently in fiction, in famous adventure stories of journeys to the center of the earth, of explorers descending into the planet and discovering hidden worlds, subterranean landscapes, strange creatures, lost civilizations, inner seas. These stories captured the imagination powerfully and helped fix the image of the habitable inner world in the popular mind. And in the esoteric and occult traditions, as we have seen, the hollow earth became the container for the legends of hidden kingdoms, the vast interior space in which Agartha and its masters could dwell, the inner sun that could light their realm. The hollow earth gave the underground legends room to breathe, a physical framework, however imaginary, in which a whole hidden world could exist. Let us feel the full imaginative power of the idea, because it is considerable. Imagine that beneath the crust of the earth, instead of endless solid rock, there is a great open space, an inner world. Imagine an inner surface, curving around the inside of the planet, with its own landscapes, its own seas, its own sky, illuminated by a small central sun hanging at the very core, casting perpetual soft light across the interior world. Imagine that this inner world is inhabited by the masters of Agartha, or by survivors of lost surface civilizations who descended long ago, or by races entirely unknown to us. And imagine that this whole hidden world can be reached, if you can find them, through great openings at the north and south poles, vast holes at the top and bottom of the world, through which one might pass from the outer surface to the inner. It is a magnificent vision, a whole second world hidden within our own, and it is easy to see why it has gripped the imagination for so long. And now we must do the hard and necessary thing. We must confront what we actually know about the interior of the earth, because our honesty demands it, and because this is the clearest example in this entire subject of a beautiful idea meeting an immovable reality. And the reality is this: the earth is not hollow. It is, as far as all the evidence of modern science can establish, solid, dense, and full, all the way down, with no vast interior spaces, no inner world, no central sun, and no polar openings. And we do not merely assume this. We know it through multiple independent lines of powerful evidence. Consider how we know. The most direct evidence comes from the study of how waves travel through the earth. When earthquakes occur, they send waves of energy through the body of the planet, and these waves travel through the interior and are detected by instruments all over the world. By studying how these waves move, how fast they travel, how they bend, how they are blocked or transmitted, scientists can map the interior of the earth, much as a medical scan maps the interior of a body. And what this reveals, in extraordinary and consistent detail, is a planet that is solid and layered and dense throughout. It reveals a crust, and beneath it a vast, thick mantle of hot rock, and beneath that an outer core of liquid metal, and at the very center an inner core of solid metal. The way the waves travel through the earth is completely consistent with this dense, layered, solid structure, and completely inconsistent with a hollow interior. A hollow earth would transmit these waves in a totally different way, and it simply does not. The seismic evidence gathered from countless earthquakes over a very long time decisively shows a full and solid planet. Consider too gravity and the mass of the earth. We can measure the mass of the earth, its total quantity of matter, with great precision. And from that, knowing its size, we can calculate its density, how much matter is packed into its volume. And the earth is dense, much denser than the rock at its surface, which tells us that the interior must be composed of very dense material, dense metal at the core, packed tightly all the way through. A hollow earth with a vast, empty interior would have a completely different mass and density than what we measure. The Earth's actual mass and density are consistent only with a full, dense, solid interior, and rule out a substantial hollow space within. And consider, more simply, the basic physics of a body the size of the Earth. An object as massive as our planet, under the immense force of its own gravity, cannot maintain a large hollow interior. The weight of the overlying material pressing inward under gravity would collapse any such vast internal space. The pressures at depth within the Earth are enormous, far beyond anything that could sustain an open inner world. The very gravity that holds the Earth together and holds us to its surface makes a hollow interior physically impossible for a body of this size. There is no inner surface for anyone to stand on, no inner sky, no room for an inner sun, because the planet is full and its own gravity ensures that it must be. So the honest verdict on the hollow earth as a literal physical reality is clear and firm, and we state it without hedging. The earth is not hollow. There is no habitable inner world, no central sun, no polar openings into a world within. The evidence against it is overwhelming and comes from multiple independent directions: seismology, gravity, mass, and basic physics, all converging on the same conclusion: a solid, dense, full planet. The hollow earth, and with it the physical version of Agartha and its inner world kingdom, is not a place that exists. It is a beautiful, powerful, historically fascinating idea, but it is an idea, not a reality, And yet, having stated that plainly, let us not simply dismiss and move on, because there is something genuinely valuable in understanding why this idea arose and why it endures, and even in what small, honest residue remains. The residue is not a hollow planet, but it is this. The Earth's interior, while solid, is genuinely one of the great remaining frontiers of the unknown in a real sense. We have never been anywhere near the center of the Earth. The deepest we have ever drilled is a mere scratch on the surface, a tiny fraction of the way through the crust alone, not even close to the mantle, let alone the core. In a literal sense, the interior of our own planet is more inaccessible to us than the surface of distant worlds. We know its structure from indirect evidence, from seismic waves and gravity and physics, but we have never been there, never seen it, never touched it. And so the interior of the Earth remains, even now, a vast, unreached, in some ways still mysterious realm, not hollow, not inhabited, but genuinely unexplored in the most direct sense, the deepest and nearest of all the places human beings have never been. That real and humbling fact that the interior of our own world remains, in the most literal sense, unreached and largely unseen, is the honest kernel at the heart of the hollow Earth dream. Not that the Earth is hollow and inhabited, which it is not, but that the world beneath us is genuinely vast, genuinely deep, and genuinely beyond our reach, a real unknown lying directly under our feet. And it is that real unknown, the true, solid, but unreached depths, that the imagination has always populated with its dreams of inner worlds and hidden kingdoms. The hollow Earth gave the underground legends their space, and those legends also gave them their doorways, specific places on the surface of the Earth where, it is said, one might pass from our world into the world below. Mountains that are hollow and inhabited, sacred peaks with hidden entrances, gateways in the highlands of Tibet, and, connecting back to territory we have explored before, openings beneath the ice of Antarctica. Let us visit the fabled doorways to the underworld. If there is a hidden world beneath us, whether the dreamed kingdom of Agartha or simply the vast unreached depths of the real Earth, then the imagination demands a way in, a threshold, a door. And so, woven through the legends of the underground world, there is a recurring and fascinating motif, the idea that at certain special places on the surface of the Earth, there are entrances to the world below. Doorways, gateways, points where the surface world touches the hidden world beneath, where one might, if one knew the way, descend from the known into the unknown. And these doorways cluster at particular kinds of places, and the pattern of where they appear tells us something about the human imagination and its relationship to the landscape. Let us visit the most famous of these fabled doorways. And as we do, let us keep our footing, remembering that we are firmly in the dreamed underground world now, exploring legend and tradition, not documented fact. We begin in the American West, at a mountain that has become one of the most storied locations in all of modern underground legend, Mount Shasta. Shasta is a real and genuinely striking place, an enormous, isolated volcanic peak rising dramatically from the surrounding landscape in Northern California, a mountain of great beauty and, for many, of great spiritual power. And around Mount Shasta has grown a rich body of legend, making it, in the modern esoteric imagination, one of the great sacred mountains and one of the great supposed entrances to the world below. According to the legends that surround Shasta, the mountain is not merely a mountain. It is hollow, or contains within it a hidden realm, and it is inhabited. The traditions speak of a hidden race or a hidden community dwelling within or beneath the mountain, sometimes described as the survivors or descendants of a lost civilization, beings of advanced spiritual development and ancient wisdom living in concealment within the sacred peak. There are stories of a hidden city inside the mountain, of mysterious inhabitants occasionally glimpsed, of strange lights and sounds, of the mountain as a center of spiritual energy and a point of contact with hidden beings and hidden worlds. Shasta in this tradition is a doorway, a place where the hidden underground world and the beings who dwell in it come closest to the surface, a mountain with a secret world inside. These legends of Shasta are relatively modern, largely developed within the esoteric and spiritual traditions of the past couple of centuries, drawing on the same currents that gave us Agartha, the lost civilization survivors, the hidden masters, the sacred inner world, and they attach themselves significantly to a mountain, which is worth noticing because the mountain is one of the great natural locations for the imagined doorway to the underworld. And we will see why in a moment. Now travel to the other side of the world, to the highlands of Central Asia, to Tibet, a land of high mountains and deep spiritual tradition, and one that occupies a special place in the legends of the hidden world. Tibet and the broader region of the Himalaya and Central Asia is deeply associated in these traditions with the hidden kingdoms of wisdom, with Shambhala, with the sacred realms of enlightenment, and in the modern esoteric synthesis, with entrances to the subterranean world of Agartha. There are traditions of hidden valleys and concealed sacred places in the Himalaya, of gateways to hidden realms, of secret passages and entrances to the world below, located among the great mountains and the remote highlands. The very remoteness and mystery of Tibet, its high, inaccessible landscape, its profound spiritual traditions, its reputation as a place of hidden wisdom, made it, in the imagination, a natural location for the doorways to the hidden kingdom, a threshold between the world we know and the concealed world of the masters below. And now, let us return to territory that long-time followers of these mysteries will recognize, because it connects this journey to ground we have explored before. Antarctica, the frozen continent at the bottom of the world, which has featured so prominently in the legends of lost civilizations and hidden worlds, appears here too in the legends of the underground. For Antarctica, in these traditions, is imagined not only as the possible site of a lost surface civilization beneath the ice, but as another of the great doorways, a place where, beneath the vast and forbidding ice sheet, there might lie an entrance to the world below, a passage into the hidden interior, a gateway at the bottom of the world. The same qualities that made Antarctica a magnet for lost civilization legends, its remoteness, its concealment beneath the ice, its status as the least known and least accessible place on Earth, make it, in the underground legends, a natural candidate for a hidden doorway, the ice as a seal over a passage into the depths. So we have three great doorways and others like them scattered across the world. And now let us ask the honest and illuminating question: why these places? Why do the imagined entrances to the underworld cluster where they do? Because when you look at the pattern, it is revealing, and it tells us less about the geography of hidden kingdoms and more about the geography of the human imagination. Notice what these places have in common. Mount Shasta is a remote, dramatic, isolated mountain. Tibet is a remote, high, inaccessible highland. Antarctica is the most remote and inaccessible place on the entire planet. The doorways to the hidden world cluster overwhelmingly at the remote, the inaccessible, the mysterious, the little-known edges and heights and depths of the world. And this is deeply telling, because a doorway to a hidden world can only be imagined to exist where the world is genuinely unknown, where it has not been thoroughly explored and mapped and explained. You cannot place a secret entrance to an underground kingdom in the middle of a well-known, thoroughly examined, ordinary landscape because everyone would know it was not there. But a remote mountain, a forbidden highland, a continent buried under ice, these are places mysterious enough, unknown enough, that the imagination can install a hidden doorway there, in the gap where knowledge runs out. This is the same principle we have seen throughout the dreamed underground world, and indeed throughout so much of this subject. The legends of the hidden gather in the spaces of the unknown, where knowledge is thin, where a place is remote and unexplored and mysterious. The imagination rushes in to fill the emptiness with hidden worlds and secret doorways and concealed kingdoms. The doorways to the underworld are located precisely at the limits of the known world, because that is the only place they can be located, in the mysterious margins where the mind is free to dream, because the facts have not yet arrived. Shasta, Tibet, Antarctica, these are not, most likely, actual entrances to a hidden underground world. They are the places remote and mysterious enough that the human imagination could believe an entrance might be there. And there is a deeper resonance in the specific kinds of places chosen, the mountains especially. The mountain has always held a special place in the human imagination, reaching up toward the heavens, and in these legends, reaching down into the earth, a meeting point of the worlds, a natural threshold, a great isolated peak like Shasta, rising alone and dramatic from the landscape, feels like a special place, a place apart, a place where the ordinary rules might not apply and the boundary between worlds might be thin. It is no accident that sacred mountains across many cultures have been seen as points of connection between the human world and other realms, above and below. The mountain as doorway draws on this deep and ancient sense of the peak as a sacred threshold, a place where one might pass between worlds. So the doorways to the underworld, examined honestly, are not verified passages to a hidden kingdom. They are a revealing pattern in the human imagination, clustering at the remote and mysterious and sacred places of the world, at the mountains and highlands and frozen wastes where the known world runs out and the dreamed world can begin. They mark not the entrances to Agartha, but the edges of human knowledge, the places mysterious enough to hold our dreams of what lies beneath. We have now explored the dreamed underground world quite fully, the hidden kingdom, the hollow interior, the doorways in the remote places. And throughout our entire journey, through both the real underground world and the dreamed one, a single question has been following us down, level by level, into the dark. It is time now to face it directly. Whether we are talking about the real buried cities carved from fear, or the legendary kingdoms that survived the fall of the world, the same haunting question underlies them all. Why did humanity go underground? What were they hiding from? What drove people in fact and in legend alike to descend into the earth and seal the doors behind them? Let us confront the fear at the heart of the whole descent. Throughout this entire descent, through the real buried cities and the dreamed hidden kingdoms alike, one question has followed us down into the dark. We planted it at the very beginning, and it has grown heavier with every level we have descended. It is time now to face it directly, because it is the thread that connects everything we have seen, the real and the legendary, the proven and the dreamed. Why did humanity go underground? What were they hiding from? Let us start with the real underground world, because there the question has real, documented historical answers, and those answers are among the most poignant in all of archaeology. When people carved cities 18 stories into the earth, when they built great stone doors that sealed from the inside, when whole populations prepared to vanish beneath the surface, they were not doing it idly or for comfort or for mere convenience. The immense labor of building underground, the specific defensive design, the sealed refuges, all of it points to a single overwhelming motive: fear. They were hiding from something. And in the real world, we largely know what. The great motive, written into the very architecture of places like Derinkuyu, is the threat of other human beings: invasion, war, raiding, persecution. Across the long history of the underground cities of Cappadocia, the recurring danger that drove people below the surface was the arrival of hostile forces on the surface: armies sweeping through the land, raiders descending on the towns, conquerors and persecutors from whom ordinary people had no other defense. Against such threats, the underground offered what nothing on the surface could: the ability to disappear. When you cannot defeat the army that is coming, when you cannot defend your town against the raiders, you can do one thing: you can vanish. You can take your family, your animals, your food, and your water, descend into the earth, roll the great stone doors shut behind you, and simply cease to exist as far as the surface world is concerned. The enemy arrives, finds empty towns, searches, finds nothing, and eventually moves on. And when they are gone, you emerge and you have survived. The underground city was, above all, a technology of survival against human violence, a way for the vulnerable to outlast the powerful by disappearing into the earth. This is the real documented answer to what they were hiding from, and it is deeply human and deeply moving. The buried cities are monuments to fear, yes, but also to an extraordinary will to survive. They are the work of people who faced overwhelming danger and refused to simply perish, who undertook staggering labor to build themselves a way to endure, who chose the darkness of the underground over the death that waited above. Every sealed stone door is a testament to a community that intended to live, that prepared in advance to save itself by descending into the earth. The underground, in its real historical form, is humanity's refuge from humanity, the shelter the weak built against the strong, the place where whole peoples went to outlast the storms of history. And there were other real threats too, beyond human violence, that drove people underground across history and prehistory. The underground offers shelter from the elements, from extremes of heat and cold, a stable environment when the surface is harsh. It offers protection from natural dangers of various kinds. The impulse to descend for safety is broad and deep, rooted in the real protective qualities of the earth, its stability, its concealment, its endurance. The ground shelters, the ground hides, the ground protects. And so, again and again, in the face of many kinds of danger, human beings have gone down into it. But now, let us turn to the dreamed underground world and watch how this same question, what were they hiding from, transforms and deepens into something grander and more mythic. Because in the legends, the reason for going underground is not merely a particular invading army or a specific persecutor. It becomes cosmic. It becomes ultimate. In the legends of Agartha and the hidden kingdoms, the reason the masters or the survivors went below was to escape not a raid, but a catastrophe, the fall of a civilization, the destruction of a former world. a cataclysm that consumed the surface, from which a remnant escaped by descending into the earth, carrying their wisdom below to preserve it while the world above was destroyed. The legendary descent is a descent to survive the end of the world. Do you see how the real motive is transfigured into the mythic one? At Cappadocia, real people descended to survive a real, local, human catastrophe, an invasion. In the legend of Agartha, a lost civilization descends to survive an ultimate cosmic catastrophe, the fall of a whole world. The same fundamental act, going underground to survive, is elevated from history to myth, from a particular danger to the ultimate danger, from surviving an army to surviving the apocalypse. The dreamed underground world takes the real human experience of fleeing beneath the earth for refuge and magnifies it to its greatest possible scale. The earth as the refuge from the end of everything, the place where the best of a lost world could be preserved through its destruction. And this reveals something profound about why the underground holds such power in the human imagination, and why the two underworlds, the real and the dreamed, are so deeply connected. Both of them, at their root, express the same thing. The underground is where you go to survive what you cannot otherwise survive. It is the refuge of last resort. When the danger is too great to face, when the enemy is too strong, when the catastrophe is too vast, the earth is where you go to endure it. And this is true both in the documented history of the buried cities and in the mythic imagination of the hidden kingdoms. The underground is humanity's oldest and deepest symbol of survival against overwhelming odds, the place that shelters what would otherwise be lost, the darkness that preserves. There is in this a haunting and beautiful truth about our species. We are surface creatures, beings of light and air. And yet, when the surface fails us, when the world above becomes too dangerous to bear, we have always known where to turn: down, into the earth, into the dark, into the stable, sheltering, enduring ground. The underground is the refuge written into the deepest layers of the human response to danger, the answer, both practical and mythic, to the question of how to survive the unsurvivable. When the world above is ending, go below. It is what the people of Cappadocia actually did, sealing themselves into the rock while armies passed above. And it is what the masters of Agartha are dreamed to have done, descending into the earth to preserve their wisdom through the fall of the world. The same descent, the same refuge, the same deep human knowledge that the earth will shelter you when nothing else can. And this suggests something about the deepest fear that underlies the whole subject, the fear beneath all the particular fears. Beneath the fear of the specific invading army, beneath the fear of the specific catastrophe, there is a more fundamental fear, the fear of the end itself, the fear that the world as we know it might not last, that some catastrophe, human or natural or cosmic, might one day sweep across the surface and destroy what we have built. And against that deepest fear, the underground stands as the deepest reassurance that even if the surface is lost, something might survive below, that the earth might preserve what the surface cannot, that descent might be salvation. The dream of the hidden kingdom that survived beneath the earth is, at its heart, the hope that survival is always possible, that there is always a refuge, that even the end of the world might be outlasted by those wise enough or fortunate enough to go below in time. So what were they hiding from in the real world? From invaders, from war, from persecution, from the specific and terrible dangers of human history. And they hid with extraordinary courage and ingenuity, and often they survived. And in the dreamed world, from catastrophe itself, from the fall of civilizations, from the end of worlds, descending into the earth to preserve what was precious through the destruction above. The particular answers differ, the historical and the mythic, but the deep answer is the same, and it is the thread that has run through our entire descent. Humanity goes underground to survive. The earth is our refuge from the end. And whether that end is a raiding army or the fall of the world, the response is the same ancient response, as old as fear itself. Go down, take shelter in the earth, wait in the dark, and endure. We have now descended through the whole of the underground world, the real and the dreamed, and confronted the fear at the heart of the descent. There remains only the grandest claim of all, the one toward which the whole subject ultimately reaches. Throughout our journey, we have seen tunnels, real ones connecting the cities of Cappadocia, and legendary ones connecting sacred sites and hidden kingdoms. And there is a theory that gathers all of these tunnels together into a single, breathtaking claim that the underground worlds are not separate at all, that beneath the entire surface of the earth, the tunnels connect into one vast, hidden global network linking the whole world below. Let us examine the greatest claim of the underground world. We have reached the grandest claim of all, the one toward which this entire subject ultimately reaches, gathering up every tunnel and passage we have encountered, real and legendary, into a single breathtaking vision. The claim is this: that the underground worlds of the earth are not separate and isolated at all, that beneath the surface of the entire planet, the tunnels connect, that there exists, hidden beneath our feet, a single vast network of passages linking the whole world below, a global subterranean system connecting the buried cities and the sacred sites and the hidden kingdoms into one continuous, concealed underworld spanning the entire earth. It is a magnificent idea, and it is the natural culmination of everything the underground legends reach toward. So let us lay it out in its full form, feel its power, and then, as we have done throughout, weigh it honestly against what we actually know. The theory of the global underground network holds that all the scattered pieces of the subterranean world that we have explored, and many more, are connected. That the tunnels linking the underground cities of Cappadocia are part of a larger system, that the passages beneath the sacred sites lead onward, connecting to other passages, other sites, that the legendary doorways in the mountains and the ice open onto tunnels that run for enormous distances through the earth, that all of it, everywhere, links together so that one could, in principle, travel through the earth from one continent to another, from one hidden site to another, along a concealed network of passages that spans the whole globe. Beneath the visible world in this vision, there is a complete hidden world, a second earth of tunnels and chambers and buried cities, all connected, all linked, a subterranean planet existing in parallel with the surface one. In the most elaborate versions, this global network is ancient, the work of a lost civilization or a hidden race, deliberately constructed to link the whole world below, and still existing, still perhaps in use beneath our feet, unknown to surface humanity. It connects to the hidden kingdoms, so that Agartha and its like are nodes in the network, reachable through the global system of tunnels. It explains the doorways, which are entrances to the network. It gathers every underground mystery into one grand unified vision, a single hidden world beneath the world, connected from pole to pole. Feel the appeal of this, because it is the appeal of every grand unifying theory. It takes the scattered pieces, the separate mysteries, the isolated wonders, and it connects them into a single magnificent whole. It suggests that all the underground mysteries are not separate curiosities but parts of one great hidden system, that there is a pattern, a connection, a unity beneath it all. It is the underground equivalent of the grand blueprint, the single hidden order that explains everything. And like all such grand unifying visions, it is deeply satisfying to the pattern-seeking human mind, which longs to connect the scattered into the whole. So let us weigh it, honestly and carefully, separating, as we always must, the real from the speculative, and being clear about exactly where the line falls. Begin with what is real, because there is a real foundation, and it is important. Real underground tunnels and networks do exist on a regional and local scale. We have seen genuine tunnels connecting at least some of the underground cities of Cappadocia. There are real underground networks of various kinds in various places, tunnels, passages, connected subterranean systems built by human beings for real purposes across history. The existence of underground passages connecting nearby sites is a genuine phenomenon, documented and real. So the basic building block of the theory, the connecting tunnel, is real, and regional underground networks are real. That much stands on solid ground. But now watch the leap, because it is an enormous one, and it is the crucial thing to see clearly. There's a vast difference between real, local, regional underground networks, tunnels connecting nearby sites within a region, and a single global network connecting the entire planet beneath its surface. The former is documented reality. The latter is an enormous extrapolation far beyond any evidence. And the gap between them is not small. It is the difference between a tunnel connecting two cities a few kilometers apart, which is real, and a tunnel system connecting continents across thousands of kilometers, beneath oceans, through the deep rock of the earth, which is something else entirely. Consider what a genuinely global underground network would actually require, because thinking it through concretely reveals the scale of the claim. It would require tunnels running for thousands upon thousands of kilometers through solid rock. It would require passages beneath the oceans, through the rock under the deep seabed, connecting the continents underground. It would require an engineering effort so vast, so far beyond anything in the documented human record, that it would represent the single greatest construction project in the history of the world by an enormous margin, and yet one that left no clear trace, no records, no undeniable physical evidence accessible to us. It would require this network to have remained hidden, undetected, despite all our mining, drilling, tunneling, and geological surveying of the Earth. The physical demands of a true global network are staggering, and the absence of solid evidence for it is exactly what we would not expect if it truly existed. And here we return to a lesson we have learned before in these investigations, the lesson of how a grand pattern can be constructed from scattered pieces. The global underground network is built by taking real, isolated, regional underground features, the tunnels of Cappadocia, the passages beneath various sites, the legendary doorways, and connecting them in the imagination into a single system. But the connections themselves, the vast tunnels that would actually link these scattered real features into a global whole, are precisely what is not documented. The real pieces are real. The lines drawn between them, turning them into a global network, are speculation. It is the same pattern we have seen throughout real, local, documented phenomena, extrapolated and connected into a grand global vision that goes far beyond the evidence. The pieces are real. The global network that supposedly connects them is not established. So the honest verdict on the global underground network is this: Real regional and local underground networks exist, and they are genuinely fascinating. But a single global network connecting the entire planet beneath its surface is an enormous extrapolation, unsupported by direct evidence, physically staggering in its demands, and best understood as the grand imaginative culmination of the underground legends rather than a documented reality. It is the dream of connection, the longing to unite all the scattered underground mysteries into one hidden whole, projected onto the real but limited fact of regional underground tunnels. The global network is very likely a construction of the pattern-seeking imagination, not a discovered feature of the world. And yet, one more time, let us hold the honest residue, because there is a real and humbling truth even here, at the grandest and most speculative claim of all. And the residue is this: the underground world of the Earth is genuinely, vastly underexplored. We have not mapped the subsurface of our planet completely. There are, without doubt, undiscovered caves, undiscovered passages, undiscovered chambers, natural and perhaps artificial, that we have not yet found. The Earth's crust contains enormous natural cave systems, some of great extent, much of which remains unexplored, and new discoveries of caves and underground spaces continue to be made. And as we saw with Derinkuyu hidden behind a wall and Longyou hidden beneath ponds, real, significant underground works can lie undiscovered for a very long time and more surely await discovery. So while there is no evidence for a deliberate global network connecting the whole planet, it is entirely true that the underground world remains full of genuine undiscovered spaces, and that we will keep finding more, and that some of those discoveries may yet astonish us. The residue is not a global network. It is the real, vast, incompletely explored underground world, which continues to hold genuine secrets, even if not the single connected system of legend. And this brings us, at the end of our descent, to a fitting place, holding together the two truths that have accompanied us the whole way down. On one hand, the grandest claims, the global network, the hidden kingdoms, the hollow earth, are not supported by the evidence, and some are physically impossible, and honesty requires us to say so clearly. On the other hand, the real underground world is genuinely vast, genuinely astonishing, genuinely full of both documented wonders and undiscovered secrets, and it remains one of the great underexplored frontiers of our own planet. The dream of the connected underworld outruns the evidence. But the real underworld beneath us is wonder enough and mystery enough, and it is still, in large part, unexplored. We have descended through the whole of the underground world, real and dreamed, from the buried cities carved from fear to the hidden kingdoms dreamed from hope, from the proven tunnels to the imagined global network. It remains only to return to the surface and to ask what our long descent has shown us about the world beneath our feet, and about ourselves, and about why the world below holds the human imagination as powerfully as it does. Let us make the final ascent and gather what we have found in the dark. We have descended a long way. We have gone down 18 stories into the earth at Derinkuyu, and stood in the drained caverns of Longyou, and passed beneath the sacred stones of Giza. We have crossed the threshold into the dreamed underworld, into Agartha and the hollow earth, and the doorways in the remote places, and we have followed the tunnels all the way to the grandest dream of a global network beneath the world. Now it is time to make the ascent, to climb back toward the surface, and to gather in the light what our long descent into the dark has shown us. We began by saying there were two underworlds, the one we dug and the one we dreamed. And now, having explored them both, we can see clearly what each one is and why both endure. The underworld we dug is real, and it is magnificent, and it is one of the most underappreciated wonders of the human story. We proved it, level by level. Humanity genuinely descended into the earth and built there on a scale and with a sophistication that staggers the imagination. Cities 18 stories deep, capable of sheltering thousands, sealed with great stone doors from within. Whole regions honeycombed with buried settlements, an entire hidden country beneath the surface. Vast, precise, mysterious caverns hidden beneath still water, carved by builders we have forgotten. Cities of the dead, underground temples, rock-cut wonders, chambers beneath the most sacred monuments on earth. The real underground world is a genuine and astonishing dimension of human achievement. Proof that the ground beneath our feet is not empty but full of human work, human history, human meaning, much of it hidden, much of it still being discovered. That much is solid, and it is wonderful, and it needed no exaggeration to be so. The underworld we dreamed is not real in the same way. The hidden kingdom of Agartha, the hollow interior with its inner sun, the inhabited doorways in the mountains and the ice, the global network connecting the whole planet. These are not documented places. Some of them, like the hollow earth, are physically impossible, ruled out by everything we know of the planet beneath us. They are legends, dreams, creations of the human imagination. And we have said so plainly throughout because honesty demanded it. But we have not dismissed them because a dream is not nothing. A dream that humanity has returned to again and again across cultures and centuries is telling us something, not about the geography of the earth, but about the geography of the human heart. And that is what our descent has really revealed. Not a hidden kingdom, not a hollow planet, not a global network, but the profound and enduring hold that the world below has on the human imagination, and why it holds us so. Why does the underground grip us as it does in fact and in fantasy alike? We have found the answer, woven through the whole of our descent. The underground is the realm of the two deepest things, death and refuge, the tomb and the shelter. It is where we lay our dead, and so it became, in the imagination, the realm of the departed, the land beneath the land, heavy with the weight of the sacred and the lost. And it is where we flee to survive, the shelter of last resort, the place we go when the world above becomes too dangerous to bear. This doubleness, the underground as both death and survival, both ending and refuge, is what gives it such power. It is the darkness that both buries and preserves, that both ends life and shelters it, and the human imagination has never been able to leave it alone. And running through it all, the thread that connected every level of our descent was the question, what were they hiding from? We found that in the real world they hid from invasion, from war, from the terrible dangers of human history, and that the buried cities are monuments both to fear and to an extraordinary will to survive. And we found that in the dreamed world, that same descent became mythic, a flight from catastrophe itself, from the fall of civilizations, from the end of the world, the earth as the ultimate refuge, the place where what was precious might be preserved through the destruction above. In both the real and the dreamed, the underground is where humanity goes to survive the unsurvivable, and that is perhaps the deepest reason it holds us. It is our oldest answer to our oldest fear, the fear of the end, and its oldest reassurance that even the end might be outlasted below. So what remains as we stand again in the light, having climbed back up from the dark? Two things, and we should hold them both. The first is a clear-eyed honesty about what is proven and what is dreamed. There is no Agartha, no hollow earth, no inhabited kingdom lit by an inner sun, no global tunnel network linking the continents beneath the seas. The evidence is against these things, and in some cases the laws of nature forbid them, and we do the subject no honor by pretending otherwise. The dreamed underworld is a dream, and its truth is the truth of a dream, revealing not the world, but ourselves. And the second is a genuine and humbling wonder at what is real and at what remains unknown. The real underground world is vast, astonishing, and only partly explored. We have never been anywhere near the center of our own planet. The deepest we have drilled is a mere scratch. Enormous cave systems remain unmapped. Hidden human works, like Derinkuyu behind its wall and Longyou beneath its ponds, still lie undiscovered, waiting. The world beneath our feet is genuinely one of the great remaining frontiers, the nearest unknown, closer to us than the sky, and yet, in the most literal sense, less explored. There are real secrets down there still, real discoveries yet to come, and while they will not be hollow kingdoms or inner suns, they may yet astonish us in ways we cannot foresee. Perhaps that is the truest thing our descent has shown us, that the world below is both less and more than the legends claim. Less because the hidden kingdoms and the hollow earth are dreams, not places, and more because the real underground, the one we can actually enter and explore, is more astonishing, more genuine, and more full of undiscovered wonder than most people ever imagine. And it is really there, beneath the floor you are standing on, going down and down into the dark. So the next time you stand on solid ground, remember what lies beneath it. Remember the buried cities carved from fear and stone, the forgotten caverns hidden beneath still water, the vast unexplored depths of our own planet, closer than the stars and stranger than we know. And remember too the dreams, the hidden kingdoms and the luminous depths, not because they are real, but because they tell us something true about ourselves, about our fear of the end and our hope of survival, about why humanity has always looked down into the dark and wondered what was there, and hoped and feared and dreamed. The surface is only the beginning. Beneath it lies a world, part proven and part dreamed, that we have barely begun to know. And whether we are descending into the real cities of the dead and the living, or into the imagined kingdoms of the wise, we are answering the same ancient call that has always drawn us downward, the call of the world beneath the world, the darkness that both buries and preserves, the deep and hidden ground beneath our feet. What do you believe lies beneath us? Only rock and forgotten history, the real and astonishing underground world of human making, or something more, some hidden world still waiting in the deep dark to be found? Tell us in the comments. This is a mystery we will never tire of exploring all the way down. If this journey into the world below changed the way you see the ground beneath your feet, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more descents into the mysteries that lie hidden above us and below.